Not too complicated, love. Ginny is still comfortable and falling asleep. Suddenly going to sleep, a phone rang, causing the woman to blink his eyes with a slightly irritated expression. She then yawned and, without moving his position, after that she grabbed his cell phone, which she placed on the table near his bed. Ginny, it's me, Jisoo. I tried to contact you. However, there was no answer. So I was forced to send this short message. Jisoo, maybe his mother gave him my number, said Ginny while staring at her cell phone screen. It didn't take long for his fingers to start pressing the screen with the letters on the screen of the phone. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you called me. I was sleeping. Is there something important you want to talk about? Ginny sighed and was about to put her phone back where it belonged. However, her phone rang again. Mom told me last night that Mom wanted to set me up with you, and I just wanted to tell you that this afternoon we will go to your house to discuss engagement and marriage. Ginny's mouth fell open and her eyes widened as she read the short message she had just received. Why so suddenly? This is really too fast. I don't know. I also don't understand Mama's decision. We'd better discuss it later. Bye. Without replying to a short message from Jisoo, Ginny threw her phone back where it belonged. She got out of bed and walked quickly out of the room to look for his mother. Mom, Jenny shouted, who was already outside her room. What's the matter, baby? Shouting for mommy, said her mother in surprise. Me, Jisoo just told you that he and his mother would come this afternoon. Why so early? Jenny asked, so panicked. Baby, wouldn't sooner be better, replied her mother while stroking her daughter's head gently. What's good, Mammy? At least give me some time. I'm not even ready, and besides, Ginny doesn't really know Jisoo, Jenny said, getting annoyed. Baby, Jisoo used to be your little friend. He was a good man, coaxed her mother gently while stroking Ginny's head gently. But, ma'am, the situation is different now. We're not tired again, even we have never met again after 15 years, and Ginny doesn't really know him either, replied Ginny sadly. Baby, you'll also get to know each other after marriage, said her mother while tucking her daughter's hair behind her ear. Jisoo and his family are good people, so Mammy will be calm in entrusting you to their families if at any time. Mammy. That's enough, Mum, pressed Ginny. She doesn't want her mother to continue saying that. Then Ginny hugged her mother's body so tightly. Why does Mummy always talk like that? Ginny doesn't have anyone else in this world besides Mummy. Ginny loves Mummy so much, so Ginny will do whatever Mummy wants. She continued to speak in a low voice and still hugged her mother with her eyes closed, holding back her heartache. Thank you, my daughter, replied her mother while stroking Ginny's back so gently. After feeling good, Ginny returned to the room and laid her body so tired on her soft bed. Her mind was again disturbed by small questions that she did not know. I can't believe 2 hours have passed. However, Ginny is still busy with his dream. Instantly his thoughts were broken when there was a knock on the door heard from outside the room. Ginny, hurry up, baby. They're already on their way here, shouted her mother from behind the door. Yes, Mom, replied Ginny, who also shouted. Oh my gosh, that's so fast, Ginny mumbles. She prepared himself as soon as possible. It didn't take long for Ginny to come out of the room and approach her mother, who was sitting in the living room. It seems that they came, Jen, said her mother, after hearing a knock on her door. Yes, Mom, let Ginny open the door. Ginny left her mother and stepped on her feet towards the door. She turned the doorknob until the door opened. As her mother suspected, the one who came at that time was indeed Dilraba. Ginny greeted the woman who was already standing in front of her, and they both hugged each other for a moment. But Ginny's eyes looked around, but she only saw Dilra. "Mrs. Dilra, come on. Please come in," the sound of her mother, who is now standing behind Ginny's body. "Where is Jiso, madam?" asked Mammy Ginny after looking outside the house and found no one there. "Jiso is still in madam's office. He's a little late. Maybe 10 minutes will catch up with his sister," reply. Then they enter. They talked until the time did not seem to have passed 30 minutes. Ginny, who had been watching the clock, tried to ask the whereabouts of Jiso, who didn't come. "Auntie, it's been half an hour. Why hasn't Jiso come yet?" asked Jenny. "Gosh, because of the fun of talking, Aunt even forgot. Just a moment. Aunt, contact Jiso first." Dilraba immediately took his cell phone to call his son. Before her could turn on his cell phone, he heard the sound of a car that had just stopped. "Maybe it's Jiso. Ginny better open the door first," said goodbye to Ginny, who immediately stood up from her seat, then walked towards the door of her house. "Miss Lisa," said Ginny, surprised to find Lisa standing right in front of her. "You, what are you doing here?" asked Lisa, confused. "This is my house, miss," replied Ginny, who was still holding the doorknob of her house. "Oh, looks like I got the wrong address. Excuse me," said Lisa, then turned her back to Ginny. "Lee, call Dilraba, who is already behind Ginny's body." After hearing Lisa's voice, she immediately stood up because she knew that Ginny didn't know that Lisa was a child from Dilraba too. After hearing a woman's voice that Lisa knew very well, didn't wait long, Lisa immediately turned her body. "Mama," Lisa said, then stepped closer to her mother. Meanwhile, Jenny, who was still among them, gasped when she found out that the woman who was familiar to her was also a child from Dilraba. "Why alone, baby? Where is Jiso?" asked her mother, surprised. "No, Jiso came here first, Mum." "No, baby. Jiso said earlier that he had a little work to do and would come here with you." "Madame, Lisa, we'd better go in first. We'll just talk inside," said Ginny's mum, softly, who also stood beside Dilraba. They ended up sitting in the living room while Lisa tried to call Jiso's number. "How about it, Lee?" asked Lisa's mother, looking worried. "Not picked up, Mom," replied Lisa, who is still trying. "Jiso texted Mom," Lisa tells. Lisa quickly pressed the screen of her cell phone to open the short message that Jiso sent to her cell phone. "Lee, please say sorry to Mama. I can't continue my match with Ginny. I don't like her, and actually, I also have a woman of my own choice." After reading the message, Lisa was silent while looking at Mama and Ginny alternately, and then took a deep breath. "What's the matter, Lee?" asked her mother, who was curious mixed with worry. Lisa already told Mama that Jiso won't want to be matched by anyone, even though it's Ginny, said Lisa, who was holding back her anger because of Jiso's actions. "No way, you must be joking, right, Lee?" shouted his mother, who did not accept. Without answering, Lisa showed the contents of the message Jiso had just sent to her mother. Suddenly, her mother, who read the message, immediately covered her mouth with shaking hands. Suddenly, Mama Lisa's head was so heavy as if it was carrying a weight on it. His breath sounded heavy because of the tightness she felt. Mommy, why?" Lisa asked worriedly while holding her mother's shoulders. "Aunt," Ginny said, who was also worried about Lisa's mother. She really wanted to sit next to Dilra, but seeing Lisa's sharp gaze, she could only stay silent. Jisoo, Ji said. Dilra then dropped her body and was unconscious. Mom, Lisa shouted in a panic when she saw her mother was unconscious. Lisa lifted her mother's body with the help of Ginny and carried her into the room and immediately laid her mother's body, which was unconscious, on the bed. A quiet atmosphere of silence enveloped Ginny's house, waiting for Mama Lisa to come to her senses. After a few minutes, Mama Lisa's eyes opened slowly, both eyes still adjusting to the light. "Are you okay, Mom?" asked Lisa, who still looks worried. Her mother just nodded slowly and tried to sit down. Lisa, who saw it, swiftly helped her mother while Ginny rushed to get a glass of mineral water for Lisa's mother. "Madam, we better just cancel our agreement to match them," said Jenny's mom softly. "No, Mrs. Kim, I really want to get one of my children married soon," answered Lisa's mother, who was seen squeezing her sweaty hands. "But madam, we can't force their will. I'm just afraid that one of them will never be happy with this decision we made. But last night Jisoo promised to." "Enough, Mama. Cancel all of this. Jisoo is not a child anymore. Why does Mama always force Mama's wishes, let alone to match he like this?" presses Lisa with her cold gaze. "Lee, so far only Jisoo has followed Mama's wishes. Mama has already informed all of her relatives and Papa's big family. What are they saying? What if Mom suddenly cancels all of this? What's more, Mama has always been looked down upon by your Papa's big family. Have you not been able to understand until here?" After hearing her mother's words, Lisa immediately fell silent, because she actually knew about everything but prefers to be indifferent and doesn't even want to interfere with her family's affairs. Mammy Ginny, who saw the situation beyond her expectations, could only stay silent, and Ginny, who had just entered carrying a glass of drinking water, immediately approached Lisa's mother. "Auntie, sorry to bother you, but it's better if you rest first. We'll talk about it later, and you should drink this first," Ginny said softly so that Lisa's mother could calm down while helping Lisa. "Jen, I'm sorry, Jisoo," Lisa's mother whispered after drinking, and her eyes were still leaking clear fluid. "No problem, Auntie," Ginny replied with a smile. "Aunt rest. Ginny and Mommy go out first," she said again, then left the room with his mother. Dilraba's two eyes point in any direction with a look at so empty. Lisa, who had been sitting on the edge of the bed, I couldn't stop watching the look on her mother's face. Suddenly, Lisa's mother's cell phone rings. Lisa, who heard it, immediately took the cell phone from the bag, then looked at the screen of the cell phone. "Uncle, Mom," Lisa said slowly while looking at her mother. Dilraba, who heard it, immediately took a breath and tried to calm his mind, then took his cell phone from Lisa's hand. "Aya, hello. Hello, sister-in-law. How are you? Has the wedding date been set? If you can try this month, sis, the sooner the better. The whole family is very happy with the news of this marriage. Especially Mammy. This will be the first marriage of her grandson." Hearing that, Dilraba was silent as she closed her eyes, trying to find the right reason. "Sister-in-law, can you hear my voice?" Why yes, sister heard it. Currently the conversation is still going on and sister is still busy. Later brother will inform you back, brother-in-law. Lisa Mommy ended the call unilaterally, then put her cell phone so rudely on the table beside her. Dilraba looked back in any direction with his blank stare. Panic and confusion became more evident in his eyes. Mom, why? Lisa asked while touching her mother's shoulder, making her body flinch slightly. Your uncle asked about this marriage. Your grandmother had high hopes. But Jisoo, what should Mom do? Said his mother, so frustrated and crying again. Mom, be honest, if this marriage is annulled, it's over, right? Lisa's reply is so easy. No. What did your papa's extended family say? Your grandmother has always disliked Mom. Mom can't possibly just cancel this marriage, rejected her mother, shaking her head. Then how about it, Mom? Jisoo ran away. He doesn't want to be married to Jinny. Isn't that enough to make Mum realize? Then you just marry Jinny, said her mother expectantly, and made Lisa very surprised by her mother's words. No, is Mum joking, asking me to marry her? This is really beyond my expectations, screamed Lisa, who immediately stood up and looked at her mother so angry. Lee, Mommy, please, baby, said her mother pitifully while clasping her hands in front of Lisa. Lisa, say no, still no. She is a woman, Mom. Lisa does like women, but not with her mom, and she also looks normal unlike me. Press Lisa. But, baby. That's enough, Lisa. Do not want to. Presses Lisa, angry, then turns her body quite rudely. You really don't want to marry Jinny? Asked her mother while looking at Lisa's back. No, she answered briefly, then walked towards the bedroom door. Suddenly, there was the sound of broken glass that was so loud in Lisa's ears, who had not had time to come out and had just grabbed the doorknob. Lisa suddenly turned her head and her eyes gasped when her mother held a sharp shard of glass and was about to stab it into her wrist. Mom, Lisa shouted very loudly and walked quickly to her mother and pushed away the glass shards. Let go of Mama, shouted her mother, crying and struggling. Jinny and her mother, who heard the commotion coming from inside the room where Lisa and her mother were, immediately approached her. Lisa, madam, what's wrong? Asked Jinny's mom, who just entered, but Lisa didn't respond at all. Why else do you live if you only bear shame? What do you do? Asked her mother with tears. Okay, if Mom wants Lisa to marry, Lisa will replace Jisoo to marry Jinny, Lisa said while calming her mother. Jinny, who heard that, immediately took a step back because she was surprised by the two perfectly opened eyeballs, in contrast to Lisa's mother, who was happy and started smiling. Is what you just said true, baby? She asked, making sure while looking at her daughter's face. Lisa just nodded her head, looking at her mother's pair of eyes, holding back her own anger. Thank you very much, Lee, said his mother, who smiled happily. Sorry, Auntie, did Jinny not hear that it was Lisa who replaced Jisoo? Don't you know that Jinny and Lisa are the same? Jinny said awkwardly while looking at Lisa's mother in surprise. Jinny, in our family, we don't look at the same or different issues, which is clear that you can unite. And about offspring, you must have really understood today, right? That may apply in that country, Auntie, but what about here? Isn't it much different? Then what will the people here say if they find out? Said Jinny, who subtly refused. We don't need to care about them, Jen. Whatever happens later, Auntie will bear it, and I'm sure your mother will also agree with this decision, while glancing at Mammy Jinny. With what Lisa said just now, Jinny couldn't say anything else and only glanced at her mother, who clearly understood the current situation. Her mother even nodded. Jinny could only breathe heavily because she had no other choice but to accept their decision, even though it was very hard for her, and it could be said that it was impossible to live it.